All right. Oh, good morning, everybody. This is Chief O. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. There are issues taking place in the world, big issues, huge issues. But as most people like to know, they don't want to talk about it. That's why we call this show Let's Talk About It. Remembering that this program is directed towards the African American community. Anybody can, welcome to come into the show. Text me, type, call me. The number is, what is it again? It's 677-298-3433. You have a question? 677-298-3433. Call in. We'll be more than happy to bring you in, let you enter into Let's Talk About It. There's so many things that is happening. This has been a very, very heavy week. First of all, I'd like to send the shout out to that's my concern about the two little boys that were killed in Baltimore and in Edmondson Village. It's ironic and quite disturbing to see that 15-year-old children, 15-year-old, lose their lives so early in their life. And yet the governing body of this city and the state, because the state likes to point its fingers, continue to blame each other for the crime and homicide rates in the city, and it's totally not acceptable. Make sure that you like this program. If you like it, press the like button, share it. And if you would like to comment. It's all right. We'll accept all that. So these two young people that were killed now become part of the 17% increase of homicides in the 2021. You know, we kind of put these numbers out as it's just numbers. 17% up, 12% up. We forget that these are human beings losing their lives. We don't even talk about the human side about it. On these homicide increases in Maryland City and the state, but Maryland City in particular. So far now, it's up to 167% victims, murders. It's a war zone. In Chicago, Atlanta, all the urban cities under Democratic rule seems to be having increases in homicide rates. It is, it's kind of tongue-tied. It ties my tongue. It makes me so annoyed and so angry. I know some 15-year-olds. I see them in their bubbling life, and all of a sudden there's no more life. Last week I informed you that I went to a victim, which I will not name. I went to his funeral. He's also a victim. And it was a chilling effect to be in that funeral home, to see a young man laid out, people crying. And then I wondered what happened over the life of that young man. Where was the parents? Where were the family? Where was everybody else that could have kept him alive? It's a chilling, ugly effect. Call me 667-298-3433. So this today's program is kind of a mixture of issues. Some of it involving, most of it involving the politics of today. Afghanistan is on our discussion. Martial law is on our discussion. I'd like to welcome a very, very, very impressive young lady. Now, you will excuse me if I mispronounce her name. Now, she's from Maryland, but her name is Mecca X Muhammad. Interesting, Mecca. And many of you may have heard about Mecca. That is not this Mecca, but the Mecca in the Middle East. And I will let her, when she comes on, to tell us a brief about herself and whether she is an Islamic or not, or a practicing Islamic. And I think maybe, I would rather let her be the one to tell us that. But let me go straight to Afghanistan, an Islamic Republic. 37 million people have been in war for 20 years. With a GPA of $73 billion, so they got money. Even having government outside of their own territory, they got money. Mm-hmm. It's a landlocked country, and there are many landlocked countries where some other people think it's easy to take, United States included. It's bounded by, I keep asking many of my viewers, have a map in front of you so you can see what's, when I talk about different geographical locations, you can literally see it in front of you. But it's a country that is bounded by Pakistan, Iran, China, Turkestan, and it has been at war for 20 long years. So what happens is that the United States, as it did in Vietnam, will go into a country for whatever political reason, divide a country, basically the same people, and have them fighting each other. The same thing with Vietnam. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I've received many calls, quite frankly, from veterans who are very angry about what is going on in Afghanistan, the withdrawal and the method by which the withdrawal took place. There was a trade agreement that was signed in Afghanistan. The United States was involved. And an investment agreement. So the United States was involved. Anytime there's some kind of investment, here come United States, they want to be part of it. Naturally, that's all right. In Vietnam, some of it was oil, but if people don't know that, it's also rice. Afghanistan is an ally of the United States because of the trade relationship. Now, recently, as recent as 3-4 days ago, now the Taliban are one group of that country, Afghanistan, that's been described as a terrorist that were trained by Americans. Now, the Taliban's, it's a very difficult public affair issue, so we continue to watch how people don't know how. 20 years ago, there was an agreement. It was just supposed to be an economic agreement, but it led into war. What we call now the Taliban's, the word is careful now. Remember, I am focused on the African American community, so please don't get angry. Because I believe that my people, the African Americans, are just not astute or even concerned about things that have happened globally. Many are, many are not. So I focus on them and I tell them and bring guests on the air that will talk about it, talk about things that they should know about. So my people, we're doing the best to keep you informed. That's exactly what we're trying to do. The country, Afghanistan, had a relationship with America. They were partners. They were working together. They were trained militarily, equipped by the United States military industrial complex. All the weapons, most of the weapons that we see being carried by the Taliban were provided by the United States. Not all of it. Some of it is from China. Some of it is from Russia, like the AK-47. That's Russian-made weapon. A 20-year conflict, a divided country, same people, just like Vietnam. Women are forbidden to expose themselves, and there are laws that America will probably not, Americans will probably not ever be able to understand the laws or the Islamic laws. It ain't easy. You know, those people who have lived in nations where Islamics are, know that it's a very difficult environment to live in. But before we go into that, let's get into the heads of who's saying what. My producer, I want to start by going ahead and play this message from the head of the United States of America.
So let me ask those who want us to stay. How many thousands more Americans' daughters and sons are you willing to risk? How long would you have them stay? Already we have members of our military whose parents fought in Afghanistan 20 years ago. Would you send their children and their grandchildren as well? Would you send your own son or daughter? After 20 years, $1 trillion spent training and equipping hundreds of thousands of Afghan national security and defense forces. 2,448 Americans killed, 20,722 more wounded, and untold thousands coming home with unseen trauma to their mental health. I will not send another generation of Americans to war in Afghanistan with no reasonable expectation of achieving a different outcome.
And then went off. But as you can see, you heard the President of the United States, Joe Biden, asking the questions about Afghanistan and saying that he is never going to really send American troops and American children. For some odd reason, this man seems to believe that, convince us that he doesn't know anything about all this. Remembering that he was a vice president for 8 long years with Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't want us to know that he was there. So he's pretending so hard that he is oblivious to what was going on, and then asking Americans, do you want your son to be sent there? I, the president, am not going to send American children over there. I was never in the White House. I haven't been in the White House, so in government for 50 long years, and I don't know anything about that. This is a nasty man. This is a cruel individual. But now that you have heard what he has said, um, let me jump a little bit and go to a place called Biafra. I'm still looking for the support of people to go to support Biafra. You know, this is another attempted British colonized country, but it hasn't been formed into a country yet. It does have 17 million people, and they are getting ready to go into war. You know, the settlers, or as they called, the British, Germans, and Portuguese, all go into different places where they're not welcomed and create mayhem. So please support Biafra. That's my own pet subject. I love that country. I've been there. Many of you should too. Travel, that is. Go to Africa. So here the President of the United States says, I'm just so shocked. I'm surprised. I couldn't believe this happened. This is the head of the United States. And he's not going to send any more troops. So the smartest thing that, you know, the trouble that people like myself see with him is that me and a Vietnam veteran, we saw the same thing that happened that just happened in Afghanistan and Vietnam. We saw the whole thing. And it was the same dumb, stupid process that they used. There was never an exit plan. You go to war, you either win it all outright, which I believe the United States thought they had, that they got so much control on the country that they don't have to do anything but just sit back and just sit back and relax. I mean, 20 years, you can kind of relax a lot, but forgetting that you are still at war. You know, North Korea is still at war with the United States. People think that it's all over. No, it's a ceasefire. There was a ceasefire agreement between the United States and North Korea. So, but we'll dig into that for a second. Martial law was in existence in Afghanistan when the siding with the United States assumed that they won and the Taliban left the country. Now remember, Taliban is Taliban, just for some black folks who don't know how to pronounce these things, and it's hard for me too, so don't get annoyed. But Taliban's left the country, pretty much left it for the United States and the people that they're supporting them and they're supporting, and they had an economic trade agreement with, to take over the country. And they did. And the United States earned up, really got good oil from it, good money and everything. It was going very well. So what happened? Now, Mecca, I can't see you, but I suspect that you can hear me. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
I wish that I can see. Oh, there you are.
I do apologize, and good morning, everyone. I'm having technical difficulties this morning.
That's okay. It's all correctable. Tell us who you are.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Mecca X Muhammad. I am a mother. I am a student at University of Baltimore. I am a conservative Republican. I am a member of the Baltimore City Republican Central Committee. I am also a concerned resident, and I am a sister to those that are suffering over in Afghanistan and all Muslims around the world. Unfortunately, there are some individuals that with terrorism that go against the grain or against the laws of Islam, which I am not a sister to.
Welcome to talk. Let's talk about it. So you are Islamic in
Yes,
practice.
I am a Muslim. Yes, I am.
Wonderful. I'm glad to have you. So you might be able to shed some light or some understanding on what is going on in Afghanistan and the Taliban. So we're not going to, we're not going to put you in total. You're not in the State Department, so you don't know the Foreign Affairs Department, but you are a Muslim, so I'm
Yes,
sure that what is taken here affects you personally and affects the Muslim community in Baltimore City and in Maryland and everywhere else. So there's quite a number of them that will be listening to you and hearing your views on this issue. Um, what do you think about the president saying that, oh, I don't know much about this, He just said, I'm shocked. It just came as a surprise. We were not ready. It just came at us so fast. Sounds like something an old man would say. What is your thought about what that statement, the statement that he made?
my thoughts are scratch a liar, find a thief. That's what my
Mm,
thoughts are.
hmm
Because Joe Biden, as we all know, as a bull-faced liar about with denying about him being vice president and not having a clue about the war in the Middle East that has been going on since well before 9/11. Number one. Number two, we far as finding a thief, well, we all know about the situation with him and his son. So um I think that denial does not do anything. A solution to the problem is going to do something. You pointing the fingers does not help the situation. Our focus needs to be, the United States focus needs to be on getting American citizens out, helping those that are Afghan refugees, whatever process that they can figure out to vet them, then so be it, and allow those that are in need, grant them asylum and allow them to get here.
Governor Hogan, Larry Hogan of Maryland, have already almost, it's out of all the 50 governors. As soon as um, Biden made his statement, Hogan came on the air and said, "We have room for all the Taliban's or Afghanistanis who are leaving, who are seeking out a way to get out. We have room in Maryland. Come on over." Remembering this is a quote unquote a Republican governor, how he gets to broadcast this quickly right after a Democratic president, and all the other 49 governors don't say anything, but Governor Hogan has opened the door. What you're thinking about how it's so quickly welcomed um, Afghanistan that are leaving because of this Taliban war?
Well, again, I am torn because I being an American and an American citizen as well as a Muslim, so I'm kind of split down the middle. But what I do understand where Hogan's perspective, because America is a great melting pot. We allowed several different cultures and backgrounds to come into the United States in the late 1800s, early 1900s. America is the great melting pot. This is the country of opportunity. So I understand his perspective. And allowing refugees and granting those asylum, I understand that too. My only concern and issue, again, is of those that have ill will and ill intent towards America. And there is unfortunately no way to vet the refugees. There's no way to find out where their background, no way to find out if they're attached to terrorist organizations, which is a big no against Islam. That is no, that Islam does not promote terrorism in any way, shape, or form, period. So I can understand his comments and his mindset, but I can't honestly agree with allowing certain refugees to come if there is not a way to vet them.
How do you check? How do you know if there's any kind of do they come, with any kind of virus? We don't know that. How do you Maryland process people that are seeking asylum or refugees that are coming from this mayhem? They, what he mentioned and what he said is that he has a special designed admission process, um, immigration admission process, then that they can just that would allow them to be able to come in. I think you know that you can pretty much assess that Americans are not comfortable with that. What Hogan did out of
If
50 governors, the one that came out. Go ahead.
Well, if Americans aren't comfortable with allowing the border to be open without having a vetting process and allowing Hispanic people of Hispanic origin to be sent throughout the United States, not have been COVID-19 tested, not knowing if they are vaccinated, not knowing what their backgrounds are because they could be tied to drug trafficking, then Marylanders, I don't think, are really going to be happy about this situation because you can't have it both ways. You can't be happy about allowing Hispanics to come to Maryland unchecked and then allowing, even be as it may that I am Muslim, allowing certain Afghani refugees to go out check. If you're going to do one thing for one group of people, you have to do it for both groups of people. You can't have one for me and not for thee. It has to be all across the board. Now, I don't know exactly what Hogan's plan is. This only time will tell. But if he has a way to vet the brothers and sisters that are seeking asylum, then by all means, again, Maryland, United States is the great melting pot. Understandably, though, this is why Trump shut down the borders. A lot of people, particularly in the Muslim community that I've talked to over the last few years, were very angry at Donald Trump because of the quote unquote Muslim ban. But he did it to protect the country because a lot of those countries in the Middle East are tied to terrorist organizations or terrorist cells. And you wouldn't want anybody, okay, let's put it this way. You lock your doors at home every night before you go to bed for the safety of your family. So the same thing President Trump did by shutting down or locking the borders to protect United States citizens. So the same thing applies.
Okay, it's a good comparison. It's a good analogy. It's that's what you're doing. Especially when some people are standing out on the other side of the door and you don't know who they are and you don't know what they're coming with. You don't know how they're going to act if you did open the door, and if your requirement is just please knock on the door, fill this paper out, or sign this, and you refuse to do it, you just go, you just want to come in the way you are, rags and raggedy to all just everything, no matter what. I got your point. Well taken. Now, the thing that happened in Afghanistan, once the United States and its allies won and took over the country for 20 years, they imposed martial law. Martial law, by many definition, of course, is a system of complete control by the military. And that's how Afghanistan was being run under the United States and Afghanistan, their allies there, by martial law, military control. 20 years. That's an awful lot of different ways of. That's a very difficult way to live in the country. But people were able to do that, live perfectly fine. They didn't have any problem. So then, in your view, what went wrong? Where did the United States go wrong in this debacle or this conflict or this um, return of the Taliban to their own country? Where did United States go wrong?
First of all, I love my country. I am a patriot first and foremost. And as you can clearly see, and I say, and I try my best, because none of us are perfect, to live by the values of Islam, even with my shortcomings. However, the first thing the United States did was not mind their business. As you stated earlier in your introduction, the United States has a tendency to go over to these foreign countries for one thing or another, so for a reason to start war, to strip these countries of their resources. So that's the first place that they went wrong with. Second of all, you go over and you force martial law on a group of people that have been living by these principles for thousands of years. You enforce martial law, you suspend their constitutional rights, whatever constitution they may have over there at that point in time. You force them to live against, quote unquote, their will. Then you pull out and you leave them holding the bag. So you don't have an exit, as you said, exit plan. And what do you expect to happen? This is the things that went wrong over there in the first place. So with that being said, the first thing the United States needs to do is stop going to countries and invading them under the guise of war to strip them of their resources. Stop imposing martial law on groups that have lived by a set of principles for thousands of years. If you have an issue with a particular country, or you want to partner with a particular country, do like President Trump did when he partnered and had a peace agreement with the UAE prior to his term ending. That's how you help deal with the situation and solve the problem.
For those who don't understand, UAE, that's United Arab Republic, I think, Emirates, United Arab Emirates, UAE. War is never a pleasant thing. Being a veteran, I can tell you, is not a good thing at all. But if you're going to get engaged in war, the vast majority of military folks that called me over the last few days asked me to mention the fact that there is a process of ending a conflict of that magnitude. You negotiate. I mean, if you're ready to go home, you want to bring your children home or your sons and daughters home, but you have to talk to the other guy.
Yes.
So they want their country back.
Right.
You got to negotiate and discuss how you're going to do it, and not allow people to be hanging on a plane, a huge United States military plane that is trying to fly off the runway and on its tires. And it was for those people who haven't seen it, a lot of those visual images of Afghan people clinging on a huge plane. We're not talking a little small plane, but on its tires, on its wings, just trying, and the plane is on the runway moving. And people are trying to escape. Most of the media in the United States have stopped showing that. Of course, under the control of the Democratic Party. They don't want people to see that anymore. Somebody in the Biden administration just decided that showing that, it makes America looks very bad, that we're running out, which is what is going on. So the people that have been calling me, the military personnel have been calling me, saying that the normal exit plan is through negotiation. Was there any negotiation, as you've seen all these things that are taking place, was there any kind of military negotiation at all for withdrawal?
No, because they didn't expect the Taliban to take over as quickly as they did. They figured that the United States, or quote unquote, the powers that be, Biden administration, whoever, didn't think that the Taliban would be able to take over Afghanistan, let alone take over Kabul in the time that they were able to take over. But when you leave your weapons over there, when you pull out your soldiers, what do you expect to happen? The same thing happened with ISIS. The same thing happened with Hillary Clinton and the 4 young men under the Obama administration, which those 4 soldiers were killed. What what do you expect to happen? Again, I ask. There was no exit strategy. And when you arm your enemies, what do you expect to happen? When you force your way of life on a people that has been that has lived by a way of life for thousands of years, you come in, you try to change that, then you leave the weapons there, and then you expect them not to take over. What do you expect to happen? Why do you think that the Afghani people will want to come to the United States and get out of it? Because they have helped those that went against the grain. So once you go against the grain and you're armed terrorist cell, they're going to want to reinstate the principles of their way of life that has been going on for thousands of years, such as women covering up. Now, a lot of people think that, as you can see, I'm covered. Sometimes I wear the niqab where you can only see my eyes. But a lot of people think it's an oppressive view. The point of women covering in Islam is because of modesty. Just as your grandmothers and your great grandmothers used to do back in the day when they wore skirts down to their knees, or when you would come into the church and the skirt be too short, now I should grab you and put the skirt around your waist. It's for modesty, and that your body belongs, of course, to the Almighty, because He's your creator, Allah, and God for those that are Christian, Jehovah, Yahweh for those are Jewish and Hebrew. And when you get married, your body belongs to your husband. And you're not to show your body to anyone other than your husband. You're not supposed to advertise your goods. In other words, that's the best way to put it. So again, when you go against the way of life and you quote unquote try to liberate women, then this becomes a problem. And when you go against that way of life, then there's punishment as a result of that. So now that the United States military and martial law has ceased, then all those that went against that way of life, which does not, because you're not supposed to harm innocent people in Islam, they're going to suffer as a result of it.
There's going to be some kind of repercussions against people that went against the Taliban that were outside of Afghanistan. It's already taking place. Many people are losing their lives. Let me ask you, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people thinking the same thing that I'm going to ask you. Islam has its own culture, language, and religious beliefs. When and especially the Sharia law, if they come to the United States, will they try to do the same thing that you're saying that Americans are doing when they go to foreign countries? Will they try to do the same thing? The Latinos come into America and literally they want Spanish taught in the schools. They want their own way of life implored into the whatever American values and system is. Will the same thing happen for, especially, let's just assume that in Maryland, Governor Hogan takes in 500,000 refugees or 1 million. Will they try to do the same thing that you're saying that the America does to other countries?
I could answer that because I'm not in the hearts and minds of other brothers and sisters. But one thing we're taught that if you're in a place, you follow the laws of that place. So even if you're from Afghanistan, you're supposed to still follow the laws of the United States. Number one rule in Islam, you don't harm an innocent person. Now, the reason why a lot of issues have presented themselves from these selves and angry brothers and sisters, if that's you could say, is because you're coming in again as a country invading one's way of life or invading their principles. Now I'm gonna make another analogy. This would be like someone coming in your house trying to tell you how you're going to raise your family, or you being a parent, or how this is going to happen or that going to happen. You would be very angry about that situation because this is a house that you pay the bills to. They don't contribute. They don't do anything, but they want to come kick your door in and tell you how you're going to have your way of life. Honestly, I doubt I can't say to the hearts and minds of another individual. I can only judge by their actions. I pray that if Afghani refugees are allowed to enter Maryland, that they're here to, what's the best way, benefit the country, help benefit others, maybe spread Islam, teach Islam to those that are ignorant to the fact or don't know or have questions about it. Be a productive member of society. People fear what they don't understand. So because of this, I've had to deal with this within our own party, because I had to step back and look at me and, I've heard all kinds of comments because, again, people fear what they don't understand. They think that because I wear this, that, and I'm in all black, that I have a bum under my my abaya, which I have been told to my face about. But honestly, if they live by the principles, then again, and I can't speak to the heart, what's in the heart and mind of a person, but if they actually live by their principles, then should not be any issues.
Well, as Americans are also very afraid of an awful lot of something that they don't understand.
Right.
Is not something that many Americans would like to see. But anybody who is listening, if you like this show, just press the like button and share it. Just go ahead and send it all out. And if we still got time for you to send some comments in and ask Mecca any questions that you have by calling again 667-292-298 3433. If we don't get any questions, that's not a bad thing to have, not to have. Sometimes some questions come in formats that you may not, that makes your show not good. We want the show to go well. I am really having a nice talk with Mecca X Muhammad, a Muslim here in Maryland. This is Chief O. There are issues that we need to talk about. This is why we're talking about it. And that's about it. We have no policy. We're not making any policies. We're just talking about it. And so that some black folks will understand. Remember now, I focus on information to black people. Anybody else can come in, but just remember, my objective is for black people to understand this global affairs, and I have a master's in global affairs and human security. So this is very interesting, and I'm looking for some other folks that will be coming on the show. I appreciate Mecca. I think you gave us a scenario and some ways of looking at somebody knocking at your door. What do you say? Come on in. And I think those were good analogies. But you also gave this audience a calming effect. Should Americans be afraid, Mecca? Should they be afraid?
People fear what they don't understand. Just as the COVID-19 virus is being used to fearmonger, so is the idea of Sharia law. Take the time, what I would like the audience to do, for those that don't already know, haven't lived in Middle Eastern countries, take the time to research what Sharia law is. Take the time, a moment, to research where the principles of quote unquote Sharia law comes from. There you hear about, oh well, if you chop if someone steals, you chop their hand off. Okay, well, would you want to have a thief in your your municipality, your state? The reason why Sharia law, you could say, is kind of sort of like what Texas is to Baltimore, and let me explain. Now, Baltimore City has a high murder rate. Texas is an open carry state, but fortunately, they have a low murder rate now because they are open carry state. The same thing applies to what you would consider Sharia law. Instilling these principles, they reduce problems of crime in their communities. Now, again, you don't hurt an innocent, but people will be less likely to commit crimes if they know that there are severe consequences to their actions. So people fear what they don't understand. Sharia law is used as a way to fearmonger. So with that being said, take the time, for those again that don't know, to research about what Sharia law and the principles of Sharia law and why Sharia law is. And honestly, if these are people that do their very best to try to live by, brothers and sisters, to do their very best to try to live by the principles of Islam, regardless of what shortcoming, because none of us are perfect, then I think and I pray that they will be law-abiding citizens if they are allowed to return or come into Maryland or to the United States.
With the Sharia law is definitely something to scare anybody. What about women that are covered up? In the context of the American system, of the social system of America, where you pretty much do what you want to do, drive a car, whatever you want to do. But in the Islamic context of culture, it's not allowed. How would that two very different cultures be able to live together?
Well, first of all, women have as many rights, if equal rights, in Islam. That's a false narrative as well. There is I'll put it this way, saying, do not try to straighten the rib of a woman or you will break it. In other words, do not try to impose your way on a woman in Islam. We have equal rights just as much as the man does. Now, there's a hierarchy, Allah / God, your husband, the wife, children, etc., etc., etc. But women do have equal rights. Women are allowed to drive over there. Women are allowed to work for their own money and keep their own money, where their husbands provide, and they have to provide with their money to the family. For us covering, would you have a problem with a Jewish woman covering? Would you have a problem with a nun covering? So what's the difference between a Jewish woman and a Catholic nun and a Muslim woman? We're all covering for religious purposes.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've seen nuns that are covered. So it's the same thing as a Muslim woman.
Yes, and an Orthodox Jew.
So, Black people, I hope you're listening, because even though it's confusing and maybe not understanding, because we Black people, I don't know what kind of culture we're practicing. We're just all out there, except for some of those who have certain amount of principles. If they don't have any principles, they just all out there. So, but it's necessary for us to talk about it, and it's necessary for Black people to seem to understand what is going on. And Mekat, I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. Come again, really come again. But because of the time on us.
May I add one thing, Chuck?
Sure.
I tell my daughters, because I have 4 daughters ranging from 13 to 19. They're not Muslim.
You
One
have
day,
what?
4 daughters? 4 daughters ranging in ages, yes, from 13 to 19. Prior to me becoming a Muslim. But anyway, I tell my 4 daughters when being modest and covering themselves. And they'll say, Mommy, oh, you're only saying this because you're a Muslim. No. I ask them, if you see 2 pieces of candy on the outside on the ground, one is half covered, one is, 3 pieces of candy. One is half covered, one is fully covered, one is not covered at all. Which piece of candy will you go for if you had no other choice but to pick up and eat those 3 pieces of candy? The covered piece of candy, the half covered piece of candy, or the piece of candy that has no wrapping on it? And that's how you can take and think about why a woman covers in Islam.
Well, that's I don't know if I'll ever eat a candy again, but wow, that's interesting. Half a covered, no covered. Well, I've seen some brothers on North Avenue pick up a French fry on the floor and ate it.
And what happens when they eat that?
That's between stomach and God.
Oh,
but I would not do that at all. No.
Exactly my point.
I got your point, and I think that the audience also got the point. Pick the candy that is fully covered, and not the one that is not, or that is half covered. So I don't have any. I have one daughter, but she's old. She's gone. She's your age, or maybe even slightly older. But I thank you so much, Mecca, for coming. Please call me. Come again, because I think that this issue going on will continue to go on, and Americans are going to be responding and reacting to it vigorously. Biden is going to continue to try to sort it out for himself and try to lie to the American people, because that's what he does best. He lies a lot. You can't be in Washington, D.C. and haven't learned how to lie and say you don't know, when we all know that he knows. We just hope that he does not impose such a martial law. He has the power to impose a martial law in the United States.
Yes.
We really do hope that he doesn't go in that direction. Quite frankly, I don't know who is behind him. And I guess most Americans, we don't know who these people are. But we're looking forward to Donald Trump coming back.
Yes, that's 2024.
Hopefully, he can show the kind of leadership that the country needs in order to grow as a superpower, and not just be somewhat of a wimp. I don't know. It happened so fast. My goodness. When did all this happen? While I was asleep? That's Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe Biden. I'm going to get a lot of calls from this. And I know, the people are going to be saying an awful lot, but, well, he is sleepy. So let's continue to do what we can to bring conservative values and those who are conservative Republicans in place. Yes, I too vote conservative, and I too vote Republican, and I have voted Democrat. Sometimes you have to look at the individual. Not all Republicans are the best, so
right, true.
Toss them out. I will not support them. Thank you so much, Mecca. My producer, I believe we have been able to accomplish quite a bit in this show. God bless all of you. God bless all those families that are losing their children. My God, everybody who's out there listening, stop the killing.
Yes.
Stop. That's enough. Can't believe some
ceasefire.
brother, another brother, and points a gun that he didn't manufacture. You know, he stole from someplace or was bought from someplace, and he points a weapon at a man's back and shoots him and kills him. 10 shots, 13 shots. It doesn't make sense, bro. Black people, it doesn't make sense.
Yet Black
Stop the
Lives
killing.
Matter.
Stop the killing. It's enough. Everybody, stop the killing. Let's get back to being a family.
Indeed.
United.
Indeed.
We have extended our time. My producer, I thank you so much for giving me the extra time. Mecca, God bless you. I loved your presentation. I loved your show. I mean, my show, so you're coming on.
You're very welcome.
This is Chief O. God bless all of you. Take good care. We're gone. Arrivederci.